it's like the biggest thing in the world.
I've become a huge fan of Twitter.
No, but Facebook, like originally Facebook was the one, like it started, I was just about to say this before, like it used to be such a safe place, like after school, you go home, you're just like, I'm really just doing the whole history here.
No,
like,
that's what I want.
It's just like, we were just like,
there wasn't group
and
chats.
there were like games, you know, like there was no group chat thing, it was just like inbox, and like, that's kind of when it was, we were like, Facebook is fun, you know, like post on your wall. And then like, as we like started to realize it could, like bands used it, like our like intermediate school band had like a Facebook page. And
we always had a good following on Facebook when we were younger.
It was like kind of like 2012 was like I think that was the peak of we were in the band called Baby Rave. Yeah. And like
what's developed?
You didn't have to write that down. No. It's like Facebook then was like the pinnacle of like we need like 500 people on this Facebook event. You know, just to get 100 people there. Like you could kind of like gauge it in that way. Nowadays, it's like it doesn't matter. It's just like
people just click attending for the sake of clicking attending.
It's kind of become this like reverse thing because we've like essentially using Facebook as a marketing tool as like 13-year-olds. We became quite savvy with it, and as the whole climate of how it's being used has changed, we had to adapt, and then stuff that we were doing in 2012 doesn't work in 2015, doesn't work in 2019. So like you really got to keep your ear to the ground about how people behave in reacting to certain ways that things are presented on social media.
Yeah.
And you used to communicate with people sometimes on Facebook by just like writing literally on their wall.
Yeah. Can you imagine doing that now?
Doing that now, people would be like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
But no, I reckon Twitter is where it's at these days. Yeah. Because like Instagram is cool because you see pictures of, I don't know, whatever you want, whatever you sort of think you call it. But Twitter's a really quick because I feel like there's not really any of that clickbaiting shit, and people are actually trying to say something of substance. But also in the whole band thing, it's a cool way to like keep in touch, even as fans of music ourselves, like with your favorite artists and see what they do. And like back in the 70s when you were a fan of Van Halen and whatever, you might like read a magazine about them, but you don't get to see what David Lee Roth does backstage and day to day. But these days you can see what people do and like how they act. And like I think it builds the connection so much between artists and fans, and that's what we try to do as the artists.
Yeah.
The only reason why I'm holding on to Facebook personally is for event invites. If there's like a 21st or like a party or something.
Yeah, when Instagram started doing events,
it's all over.
It's all over when Instagram
got
events.
Snapchat.
That is the only reason why I'm holding on to Facebook. That and like group chats. But you can do that on Instagram now. But like, that's it.
I reckon if it wasn't managing the band page, I don't even think I'd have Facebook anymore. I'd delete it.
If Instagram getting events, then Facebook's dead. But like in LA, like
Facebook owns Instagram, so in some ways they might not do events because they want to maintain.
And I'm sure that Facebook, in a lot of ways, like I know that like as like my parents are really big on Facebook, and I think that's where they capture people who didn't grow up with social media, they think Facebook is the thing, and like that's where. And like it's really cool that a lot of ways that like my dad or whatever can talk to relatives over in the UK or whatnot, and it's really cool for that and like connecting people
parents
in
are
an
very
instantaneous way. But I think for our generation, Instagram and Twitter and probably something else. How crazy is the Snapchat though, right? It's like came and then went. So weird.
LA, like no one has Facebook over there. Like they all use Twitter and Instagram. Yeah.
Twitter's great.
I think Instagram is kind of a hard one for me. I think like it's really hard.
I don't like the chatting system. Really.
I just think it's like kind of like it's really hard for people to not care how well the Instagram is doing, and there's also people who find it really hard to care about other people who care about the Instagram.
Yeah.
I personally think like who cares, like it's do you. It's like
just put your account on private if you feel like that way.
No, but there's like some people like care how well the Instagram is
how many likes you get or whatever,
and like some people care about caring about those people, and
it can be hard, especially a lot of the time for like young women as well with like body image and self-confidence and like that. It can be really toxic in that regard. And
that is a good call.
It needs a lot of work, especially for young girls. Like a lot of women, like you'll see, the whole Instagram influencer thing, and you see, this girl looks like this on the beach, and I don't, and it makes you feel shit about yourself. And I think in a lot of ways it's really toxic in terms of that. and I don't really know what the answer to that is. That's something that
it's just something that's happened.
It's like a mindset thing, and I think it's hard to not, compare yourself to others. And So going on the flip side of what we just said, it's cool as a user. It can be quite bad on the mindset of like, social status or, this like intangible.
That's super interesting. Because before that, it was like Facebook. It was like how many likes you're gonna get.
Yeah, on your like profile picture.
It was the profile picture. That was the thing.
So good to talk about this because like I totally forgot about all this.
Yeah, but this is like a trip down.
It's a throwback.
The thing is, it's just never gonna stop with social media. Like there's always gonna be one thing. But Twitter's interesting because I feel like a lot of people don't actually give a shit how many likes their tweet gets.
I don't give a shit on Twitter.
Exactly.
But I think it's cool though to see a lot of like, especially. It seems the most relevant to women, but like it's like how a lot of people these days are trying to be more body positive and stuff like that. Because I know that for like a lot of, young women that I know personally have like struggled with that whole thing and like seeing, how that can affect your mindset and stuff, and it make you feel shit about yourself or whatever. But I think it's moving. It's just, I think it's just like empowerment and stuff. That you've got to be more kind to people and like try and appreciate everyone for who they are uniquely and not try and copy someone or be I'm not like them, Actually, the great thing that the other day that I heard is that like Instagram only shows like the highlights, and you don't post on Instagram that you're having a shit day and that work was shit and like didn't defrost my chicken properly or whatever, you only post like the best things. And I think when someone's looking at it in their more mundane parts of their day and they're looking at someone else's highlights, it's really easy to get caught up in that sort of thing. But was
that a big enough tunnel for you?
Fuck man, we're going out some tangents. But I guess this is what you want.
It is, because I don't want to just write a straight band profile. I want to kind of get a sense of the culture that creates an artist in this era.
You can pick and choose the 10% of good things that it says so far.
10%. But that's just the reality of like
it's just tricky. And we need to be careful.
And there's the reason we've given such long answers is because there's so much to say about this sort of thing. Like
it's real life now.
It's one of the it's like one of the crux things that our like the millennial generation. It's probably the big change since like like our parents were kids or even like people that are 10 years older than us were kids, and like we had Facebook in intermediate, and now kids have Facebook are in primary school, like it's
on iPads
and shit. Like the first social media I ever had was Bebo, which doesn't even exist anymore.
Bring your own device to school now, like as soon as you get into primary school, it's like
my cousin was applying for intermediate school, and like having a laptop was like a mandatory thing, and like it's just
IT monitor.
I don't know. I'm really glad that I was in like I guess like the last group of kids that I still went to school in bare feet. And we played like soccer and lunchtime and stuff, because there's enough time. There's like
I think it's still happening.
The rest of
my kids are primary school.
Yeah?
They're supposedly bringing their own device, but they're really not.
That's good. I guess we don't have kids. We've got no perception on what it's like now, but that's good to hear. I'd hate to think that they're all inside like this.
Playing Fortnite.
Yeah, just like when like
there's definitely Fortnite is a
Harry's addicted to Fortnite. Not so much these days.
I quit my addiction.
We had an intervention. Our flat, like it all hours of the day, it's just like my room's just off from that. We all live together, by the way.
Oh right.
Yeah.
Like all of you? Or
not Possum. Possum and Rosemary live with Possum's parents. We've been living together for the last 3 years. On and off, yeah.
So how does that work? Is that like I'd find living with my colleagues interesting?
We don't really view each other as colleagues, but we were friends first before we were in a band, I guess. But I think it actually makes it easy, like gives us time to like write music together and like
we can go to shit together.
Go to stuff together, and we always like. It also means that if we have like an idea like at breakfast, you can just like say it out loud and like get thoughts. And I think it keeps us active and keeps us in the loop. We all live separately. We have to meet up and do stuff, and that's not how creativity works. You got to be inspired like whenever it is. So.
Past 3 years also we've been doing our degree, exact same papers together. I work with Harry as well.
Yeah. So we've been in each other's pockets.
It's in my dad's warehouse.
We've been in each other's pockets for a long time.
Right.
And then PJ and I would be like, should we skip class and go to the studio? And then be like, we both do it, then we can do it.
You rebels.
Yeah, I know. Rock on, dude. It's probably the most rebellious thing about this band. Band's cool.
So, how would, if you had to describe yourself to someone who was into music but had never heard you, like how would you describe?
We're an emo pop band.
And so, like, New Zealand doesn't have a great tradition with either of those things.